in that moment of, oh, your family's abandoning you, you've lost your community, you've lost your religion. So kind of what's left, right? How do I make an impact in other people's life? Right. And for me, that wasn't necessarily like, okay, I'm going to go out and coach Ironman. The idea that selfishness is a bad thing in society I don't know if that's true. Get me the hell across this finish line.
Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. #Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. And of course, now and always, keep hustling. Welcome to Keep Hustling with the one and only Syd Roe. Syd, thank you for being here.
I'm pumped to be here. Thanks for having me, man.
Listen, the listeners don't know, okay? The cosmos are trying to stand in the way of this episode happening, but we will not. I think we each canceled once, maybe twice.
Yes.
My camera's a little crooked, spilled water before we went live, but we will not let the people need this episode, okay? I don't care what everyone else says. This is when people learn about Syd Roe over the next short while, if I were you, I don't know if this is a coffee episode. It's because it's going to already be amped up enough. I feel, knowing you well enough.
It's bubbling up now. Let's go. Woo.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this might be like, if I were you, okay, here's what we're going to tell the listeners to do. We're going to tell the listeners, lace up your sneakers, get ready to go. Because mid-episode, or at the end of this episode, you might just want to break down some walls. So let's do it. Syd, take us back. Anyone who reads your bio, anyone who follows you on social, this episode will air either just around or just after you do. How many Iron Men women competitions are we doing?
Iron Peoples, yeah. Well, this will be my third full, and it will be my 8th Ironman. So, yes.
I didn't want to say anything, but I'm not going to tell how many I've done because it might embarrass you. But it's 8 or 9 less than you've done. But whatever, it's fine. So
it's all good, man.
Exactly. So where does that drive come from? Where does that when we talk about hustle, if someone wants to define what actual hustle, preparation, setting a goal and hitting it is, doing Ironman is it. Now, not everyone can. Some people have physical limitations that they can't get to it.
For sure.
Most people who can physically do that don't.
Yeah.
And so where does that, and I want to ask 2 parts of that question. Okay. Where does the physical drive come from and the mental? Because I imagine that most of it is actually mental and psychological. To do the training, day of the race, you just gotta, the legs are going to be the legs, the arms are going to be the arms, but I feel like up here has got to be much more. So where does that come from?
Oh man, dude, you sure know how to kick off a podcast. So number one, I'm incredibly grateful that I'm able to race these races because, to your point, not everybody has that ability or capability. So I always, any race I race, I'm always grateful for that, for being able to be there. 2, motivation. I'll talk to the physical in just a sec. The mental motivation has changed for me in terms of where it's come from. So I think we know each other well enough. I think you know my background, which was insurance kid, dad owned the insurance agency. I came out as gay 10 years ago. They were not fans of that at all. Very religious, very conservative, which nothing against conservatism or religion. Love both, think there's a place for both. But for my own experience, very tough. There's a lot of conflict there for our family. And that set me, that moment in time set me on a path to, I would say, find myself and prove to myself that I was good enough, because I think I felt in that moment that I wasn't good enough, right? In that moment of, your family's abandoning you, you've lost your community, you've lost your religion. So kind of what's left, right? And I had a lot of anger and hate and just this, I would even say like negative drive that was just like spearheading me forward, right? And I ran off that for like 8 years until it puttered out, as like I would say most negative motivation tends to do. And I went on a what I would call a healing journey. Um, and the Ironman journey has been it for me. It was this transitionary phase to kind of get out of that anger and hate and frustration and negativity, and heal and sort of prove it to myself that I was capable of more and that I was worthy of more, and then find another place for that motivation, find another source for that motivation, I would say. And it's been a very interesting journey. What I'll say and everybody's running their own Ironman. I think for me, it's a physical race. For other people, it's being a parent. For some, it's, being starting your own business. There's all different races we race. But, for me, I, I, I think I think I just got to a place where I wanted to heal from it and find something more. And it's been a tough road, but at the end of the day, I feel good about where I'm at, and excited for the future. So, yeah, that's it in a nutshell, I guess, from the mental piece. I'll pause there because we can talk physical too. That's a whole different journey. But
Yeah, but there's so much to unpack there in terms of
yeah,
hustling. This,
yes,
and one of the things that I hope people have asked me why I'm doing this or why I'm putting the effort or what keep hustling really means. And I think that one of the things that you've hit on is that, as you said, everyone runs a different race. And I love that because I say everyone has a different hustle, but I think that means the same thing. But
yes,
more importantly, I think that there's different stages in life, and you have to constantly define and redefine your hustle, your motivation, and your goals.
yes.
And many people fail to do that. And I think listening to you, it's, first of all, obvious. I just want to say most people would have turned that mental, I don't want to say challenge, but that mental, I don't even know how to say it, that mental bottom, for lack of a better term, hitting rock
Yeah.
bottom in that anger stage and just eating donuts and ice cream.
Yes.
But what I think is amazing is that you were able to turn it into a different hustle. And then you said that 2 years ago, you pivoted into you took that and made it part of your positivity journey and your healing.
Yes.
Which is amazing, because I would assume that when you started, you didn't think that hustle would lead to be part of your positivity journey.
Oh no, not at all. Not at
You know what I'm
all.
saying? So I feel like it's like that gift or that strength that you had to chase that down and to keep hustling through that very difficult time ended up actually, I'm assuming you're going to say, and as you said, we know each other pretty well, being the most positive thing because it kept you going, for lack of a better term, to get to this incredible space that you're in now, physically and mentally. So
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it's not that crazy, but I think, a couple things. One is I've had some people in my life that have been incredibly impactful in my journey. Ryan Hanley's one of them. Seth Zaremba's one of them. Um,
One of
that
them
we
has been a guest on the Keep Hustling podcast. One of them has not. The other one, Seth, must come on. We got to get him on. He's just avoiding me. So
Cat
Seth,
turns.
get your act together, Seth.
Yeah. Seth hasn't been on.
Cat's been on. Okay, so now we're 2 for 3. Seth, get on your game, Seth. Stop drinking so much coffee at 5 o'clock in the morning and get on your game, Seth. Anyway, sorry for all the listeners who don't know Seth. We apologize.
He's awesome. He's also done an Ironman. So awesome dude. But yeah, and cat turns. And then there's been a few people in my personal life, I think, who have all either challenged me or pushed me, in certain ways, or questioned me. And I think maybe I probably did have some sit on the couch and eat lots of donut moments. You try and block those out. So like, I can't remember a specific date right now, but for sure I had a couple of those plus ice cream, plus, maybe there's some bourbon in there. We don't need to get into it, but, I think at the
Yes.
end of the day, at the end of the day, and this is where the positive piece comes in. When I started to touch that feeling, that this feeling of worthiness that no one could take away from you. Doesn't matter if you're a CEO of the biggest company in the world, doesn't matter if you're the president of the United States. We're all human, and I know my worth at the end of the day, right? When you start to cross finish lines and touch that feeling, and you put in all the work, you figured out how to find that coach, you showed up for yourself every day, 6 days a week for over a year, put in the work, and got yourself across that finish line. There's just something that it's this intangible thing that it can't be taken away from you. And when I started to touch that, I was like, I want to give this to other people. How do I make an impact in other people's life? Right. And for me, that wasn't necessarily like, okay, I'm going to go out and coach Ironman races. Right. I do it through the insurance world and through marketing. But I started to turn my attention away from like, okay, how do I make Syd better? Syd. And then it became, how can I help people that I see in their journey that are maybe in their part, because I don't believe in hierarchies, but in a part of their journey that I've already been through, and I can provide some counsel or some guidance or something, right? And that's when life gets really fun. You're like, oh, okay, I've been through that. I can help with that. And so,
Yeah, but don't you feel that you had to go through that time of
oh,
Syd, meaning focusing on you to get to that?
ooh, ooh. I never
Meaning,
thought
meaning,
about
had you not done the Syd work, and this is what I tell people all the time about hustling. If you don't hustle for yourself, it's really difficult to hustle for others. It's almost like put your life put your mask on first before you put on others. That's not being selfish. That's the best way that I can save you on that airplane is by putting my mask on first. Meaning the Syd that didn't do all that work would never have been able to help the people that Syd's helping today.
I have to be honest. I think I just had a light moment on this podcast. I'd never thought about it that way until you just said that. But yeah, you're right. I think there is a sense of like, it's funny because in today's world, we love this term narcissism, which I think is this idea of like exaggerated or extreme selfishness. And I think people throw it around all the time. Oh, this person's a narcissist and that person's a narcissist. I think there's a lot less narcissists out there than we think there are, but or that social media.
I agree with that 1,000%.
Yeah. I think it's actually when two people who are both trying to do the work end up coming into conflict with each other, and then they both imploding. But yeah, I think this idea that selfishness is a bad thing in society isn't. I don't know if that's true. I think selfishness can be a good thing. You don't want to hurt people in that journey, right? I think you have to draw a line with like, I didn't have a family at the time. And so but if I had like, a family that I was supporting or something, like you don't want to put them in a bad spot, right? To go pursue these physical dreams or Ironman dreams. But yeah, I think selfishness can be a tool, right, for growth. I guess is the way I would put it.
That's crazy. Yeah.
The
okay. All right. I'm gonna do something. Yeah, I know. There's honestly like it's interesting because most of the time when I do these, this is well into the 40s of episodes. I think I kind of have an idea where this is gonna go, but this one I had no idea just because I assumed that one of us was just gonna cancel by the end, so it's fine. But okay, I want to do something that I've never done before on the podcast. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, we're gonna have to cancel it. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I want to. We're just because this is going off the rails. Okay, we're gonna bring it back here. Guess we're bringing it back.
Go off the rails, man.
Can you? Okay, let's do this together. Okay. The Ironman, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, please, is swim, bike, run. Is that how it works?
Nailed it. Yep.
Swim, bike, run. So first Ironman. Okay, we're going back there.
Okay.
Where was it?
Lake Placid, New York.
Oh, yes. Okay. Now we're right in it.
This was
Okay, we're in
meant
the thick
to
of it.
be.
So Lake Placid.
Yes.
So take us to Lake Placid. Swim is done. Bike is done. Getting towards the end of the run.
Ooh.
Make that turn. It's all coming together. There's the finish line. What is going through your mind?
Get me the hell across this finish line. No, I mean, so I will say the run is for me was, I would say, for the first one, the toughest part. I had so many mental demons come up. And it's funny, I remember talking to somebody before that race, and they said to me, good luck. You never know what you're going to find out there. And I was like, that's a weird thing to say. And so I remember getting to like miles.
You're like, what a weird thing to tell someone. Anyway.
It is, yeah. So I remember I got to like mile 14 or 15, and I was more than halfway through the run, but I was at that moment where I was like, God, I just want to stop. Like, I just want to, what am I doing this for? We're all out here swimming, biking, and running. We look like idiots in these little suits, with these fancy helmets. We spent all this money and we did all this training, and we're just running and we're just biking. And we're just swimming. Why are we doing this to ourselves? And then I like throw up. I'm like, oh God, this really sucks.
Oh, it's gross.
And, and I just was like, and everything in me too. I think I was fighting a lot of, we talk about the mental stamina. Like for me, I was battling those feelings of not good enough. And so what was coming up mentally was, you're not good enough. You suck. All that negative self-talk. And it just, when you're that exhausted, it just becomes more extreme and hard to like fight or control or, navigate, I guess I would say. And I remember, I just remember thinking to myself, you just got to put one foot in front of the other, right? One foot in front of the other, Syd. One foot in front of the other. You have to finish. Like, you came all the way out here. You got to just get across the finish line. And about a mile and a half away from the finish line, I just had this surge of like, I don't know where this energy came from. It felt like superhuman almost, right? Like, where in the world? Like, I couldn't eat anything else because my stomach was so screwed up. Obviously I'd already been racing for 138 miles at this point. I was, 13 hours into the race. And I just felt this like, holy crap, you did it. And I remember the last mile and a half, like, and it's fun because you're coming into the chute and you've got all these people cheering you on and everything. And yeah, I can't, Aaron, I can't describe it. It is just this feeling of like, holy shit, I did that. I did that. And then you're like, I will never do that again. And then 24 hours goes by and you're like, I'm absolutely signing up for another one. So, yes.
That is keep hustling. That is keep hustling. Keep hustling says our manifesto, our tagline, our spirit, our lifestyle, our mindset is that when you have a goal in sight, when you have dreams in action, you can't quit. And quitting, I just want to redefine that. Just like, quitting doesn't mean readjusting your hustle, right? That doesn't mean the guy who trains or the gal who trains for the Ironman and a month before tears their ACL, that them not doing the Ironman means that they failed, right? But that moment, I'm just like, I wish, and we're going to clip right after you said I vomited. No, but I'm serious, and I'm not making a joke about it, but like, why am I doing this? And I'm doing this because this is what I set out to do. And by the way, had you never done another one again, you said, you got the bug and the itch and whatever, that's fine. If you never did it again, you said, you know what, I did that. I think that they would still have the same impact on you when you set the next goal. Whatever that next thing would have been, you would have said, listen, that was nuts. I just don't have the time to commit to, let's say, training for another one. Let's say that would be the thing, or I want to have a different goal, or I want to. But I feel like the greatest achievement, and correct me if I'm wrong, is now anything that ever stands in your way, you can say to yourself, I kept hustling at that moment where I vomited with 15 miles to go, questioning every single thing I ever did for the last year to train for this. No, I'm serious.
Yeah, I think.
And then got to it. And I assume that the Syd that crossed the finish line really appreciated the Syd 15 miles ago who didn't give up.
Yeah, I think people call that willpower, right? It's this like, you go through this mental shift from, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? To, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. To, I will do this. I will do this. I will do this, right? And
but how many people give up just short? How many people give up just short? And that's literally, if you ask me, the person that I hope that we can impact, it's that person who is just has that little bit, just gives up just that second too short. Again, they didn't tear their ACL. They didn't fit. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying they just give up right before, and they lose all of that energy for the future. That this fuel, it's what you said 10 years later, right? How many years ago was the first one? 8 years?
No, 3 years.
3 years first. I'm sorry, 3 years ago. And 3 years later, it's literally like I'm talking to you, and it's like the oxygen that you're breathing right now.
Yeah,
and that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to, okay, so here's what you've like hit on that I absolutely love and we miss so often, is that we, humans are so funny because it's hard for us to find balance in life. And if you think about that concept in terms of how we tell our story, live our lives, what are, you get to your deathbed and you look back, you say, what did I accomplish? What was this whole thing that we went on together, right? It's either on the one hand, where we sort of default to like, oh, I just give up, and I've lost my choice, I've lost my voice, I've lost my power, and there's just this higher power out there and it's just doing everything, and I'll just eat donuts on the couch because what's the point? It's too hard. It sucks, right? That's one extreme. And then the other is this crazy ego, like, well, I don't need God, right? Like, I don't need the universe. I got it all figured out, right? And there's this middle that you can get to where you recognize you're in this symbiotic relationship with the universe. Like, you're a co-creator of your own life. And so, yeah, you're going to have dreams. Why would we have the capability, Aaron, of having dreams, visions? This is a superpower that people have. Why would we have that capability if there wasn't a purpose for it? The purpose is that we can see that future that we want to create. But guess what? Number one, you can't do it by yourself, right? So you're a co-creator in your life. But number two, you've got to get through that suck, right? Like, you have to it would be nice if it was as easy as like, well, money grew on trees, right? Like, I would like to be wealthy, so I'm going to plant a money tree in my backyard. It doesn't work like that, right? So I think there's this, we're co-creators in our lives. And so whatever your dream is, whatever your vision is, whatever that looks like for you, if it's a family, if it's a role in a company, if it's making a certain impact in life, if it's writing a book, like, I think there's, this ability to, like, one, have the willpower to want it, and to then you gotta let go of it at the same time, right? Like, and this is, I'm still kind of working through this in my own head, right? But like, there's moments on the race course where there's no, it's funny, people think like I'll get out there and I'm just this crazy maniac who runs with insane, just a machine for like 140 miles. And that's not true. You go through all kinds of dips and lows and, all
It's
different
amazing
things.
what you find out there.
It's amazing what you find out there, right? And so there's almost this like, you almost have to let go of that finish line to get the finish line, if that makes sense, right? And so you put in the work, you put in the work, you put in the work, and you're a co-creator, but you also have to balance that with like, there's a higher power out there, and we are at some, to some extent, like walking in tandem or in a symbiotic relationship with that, whatever you believe it to be. So yeah, hopefully that there's probably a lot we could dig into. There's a lot of layers as well, but
God, there is so we have to do another episode on everything else other than Ironmans. But
yeah.
you know what? When I knew you were coming on, like you're the only person. I think you're the only person I know that's done an Ironman. There was actually someone else who was on who I didn't know before had done Ironman, but you like I actually know. So I feel like the journey is there. My last question, which I, again, was not intending on asking, but we're just going with it here. What has been the greatest unintended consequence of this journey?
I thought you were going to tell me the last question before we started recording. This is a different last question than the last question you gave.
Nope. Yeah, that's what I said. We're going to get to that one. This is the last question before that comment. But yes. I'm the host. This is my show. This is my show, Syd. Okay. When I come on your pod, you can change the last question.
Okay. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, 9 years ago, probably even like 3 years ago when I started this journey initially, Syd, do you think that you will ever heal the relationship that you have with your family? I would have said there's no way. There's no way. Like, I lived in a world where my parents were on one side and I was on the other side. And this is such a fitting conversation for where we're at in our social, political lives right now. So I'm not going to make this political, but I'm not a big sides person anymore. I would have said there's no way in God's green earth that we would ever, we weren't talking. We were literally at a point where like we were living completely separate lives. I didn't even know who they were anymore. And what the race gave me was it allowed me to find my worthiness. So I didn't struggle as much with not being good enough. I think it'll always be a little bit of a scar for me personally, but it's not as deep as it was. It's healed a lot. And, because I was able to find that inner strength and worth, I was able to walk back into my family's lives without the anger and the hurt and the pain, right? And I think they were also at a spot, maybe they went through their own Ironman. Everybody runs a different race where, they had done a lot of healing. And I would say that's probably the greatest. You said the greatest. That is the greatest unintended consequence, is that a little race where we just swim, bike, and run for a really long time gave me the strength to heal my relationship with my family, which is the greatest thing that I could have asked for in life. I think I would have died, if that had not been healed with a lot of regret. So.
Syd, you rock. You rock.
Right,
I'm proud to call you a friend. You rock.
Right back at you, dude.
Now we're getting to the last question. We have a closing tradition on this podcast where we ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational and inspirational quote and what it means to them with their hustle. I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Syd, to say thank you again for being here. Thank you for inspiring me and my hustle. No, I am not doing an Ironman. Relax. I will be, if you ever need, if you ever need, I will be the guy. If you ever do one of those super Ironman things,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
be the
yeah.
guy in the trail car
Okay.
eating the donuts, being like, Syd, you're good. Syd, you need some water? Syd, I got this. Hold on. Syd, you're going a little slower than our original pace. Can you pick it up a little bit? I got dinner is in a little while. Can we get moving here? But other than that, that's it. But I really appreciate you being here, you being so vulnerable and honest with us. And I turn the floor back over to you.
Thanks, man. And I'll just say, you never know. So, July 15th, 2024 at 2:37 p.m. Eastern, I hear you, but it's July 16th tomorrow. So who knows what could happen. Yeah. So last question. Yeah. The greatest inspirational goal. It changes for me. So I think for right now, my mantra has been slow is fast. Slow is fast. That is my mantra. That is my, we talked a little bit about, there's this moment where people give up. And I think the question you have to ask yourself is, what do you do in the middle? We like to think in stories as humans with a beginning and an end. And there's a really long part in the middle that's got twists and turns and pivots and ups and downs. And, that's the hardest part. And for me, I think I'm in that middle in some areas of my life. And so I just keep thinking, slow is fast. Slow is fast. You'll get there. So.
I love that. And slow still means hustling. So
that's right.
So we appreciate that.
That's right. That's right.
Syd Roe, thank you for being here.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Great to be here.
This has been another episode of Keep Hustling. Remember, do well by doing good and always keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. If you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.